Hello again. This is Foghorn with another installment of Flight School Academics. For this, the 7th of November, 2950 or 2020 if you're stuck in the past. This presentation is part of an ongoing series of academics for the members of the Aurora Republic, the premier role-playing organization in Star Citizen. If you are new to the Aurora Republic or visiting for the first time, let me start by saying welcome. We're glad to have you with us, and I'd love to hear more from you if you're interested in hearing more from us. We are a lawful good organization focused on role-play exploration and social interaction, and are currently active in recruiting on Spectrum and Discord. We don't have any guests today and haven't had any new members in the last week. However, we do have some org announcements. We are going to move academics and foot night and flight night forward 1 hour starting next week so that it's a little bit more manageable for folks pretty late in the night to get started on academics and flight nights and stuff. So we will 21:30 Eastern time, so 9:30 Eastern time will be academics next Monday or next Saturday, and that will be our new guild standard, our new org standard. Gilded plan. We've been working on, as everybody has heard previously, we've been working on getting Gilded set up for a move from Discord over to Gilded, so that is going well. We are still working a few small bugs and structure issues out with that, but you can put in your hip pocket now that we're probably going to do a no-kidding push for the full org over onto Gilded, and douse Discord in gasoline and set it afire on the 1st of January. So New Year's Day will be we'll be operating all org business off of Gilded. Okay, the Intergalactic Aerospace Exposition 2950 starts on the 20th of November and runs through the 2nd of December with a different ship manufacturer being featured every day. That is also known as the anniversary sale. So if you've been saving your dimes and pennies and all that kind of stuff, or if you've been melting ships and all that kind of stuff to build up store credit so that you can buy stuff that you want, this is the time of year when pretty much everything in the flyable inventory is sold and will be available for purchase at one point. Even the big stuff will be sold in limited limited quantities, limited number of hulls. So if you've never played the F5 Wars before and you're looking to get something that's probably $1,000 or more, that's probably going to be a limited item. And get your F5 Wars ready. PAX Humana is tomorrow, which is an in-lore holiday for a celebration of all mankind as we have stretched out into the stars in the Star Citizen universe. And that wraps up the org announcement, so we'll get to the academics, and then we're going to get in and stage a prison break. That'll be fun today. So, rules of engagement. We are streaming this video on Twitch, so remember that there is a broadcast delay. If you're listening in the Discord academics room, you probably want to deafen one of those so you're not hearing my voice twice. And if you have any questions, this should be a fast academics. If you have any questions, then do feel free to just unmute yourself in the academics channel and ask in real time. And we'll answer it before continuing on. So tonight we are going to revisit something that we have done. We have spoke to a year or two ago, sensor displays, and go over the new stuff that they have added, done, changed, and tweaked. So without further ado, here we go. Your sensors, what a lot of people are calling radar, is actually something of a misnomer. Even in modern day, we don't use only radar. It's one small piece of a much larger integrated system of sensors on modern fighter aircraft. So I don't see why in 930 years in the future things would have gone backwards. So there are two types, basically a 3D holographic display in your cockpit or the old school 2D planar display, aka Circa Wing Commander from back in Chris Roberts' past. Plus, there's also, you've got the HUD, the target display up in your visors. Holography will be in the upper right, and from that you can pull aspect cues as well. So the two types of sensor displays that ships are installed with both give you pretty much positional information, but they don't really show aspect, and that you expect to be able to get that out of your HUD target display in the upper right of your visor. Okay, so the 3D holography display is what we'll look at first, and then we'll look at the 2D planar, and then we'll go in and Daly is kindly offered to be my sensor target, so we can demonstrate some of this with the 2D planar array. Okay, so with the 3D holographic display, like you see here, it's basically a disk around your ship, or it's represented as such. It floats somewhere in the middle of your console on your dash in front of you. This is a zoomed in picture so that we can see the symbols a little easier. So the first place is you can see all these little lines and triangles and maybe a hologram of the station you're near. Can be a little bit confusing if you've never worked with it before, but the first thing you need to know is that at the very center of all those lines, the very center of that display is where your ship is at. So this thing actually is looking 360 degrees spherically around your spacecraft. At the center of the leader lines is where your butt is sitting. There's no symbol for that. It's just simply the center of the circles and the center that all those leader lines are going to. So that means that that disk that's floating, it's supposed to be a circle. As you see, it looks like an oval, but because the circle is tilted away from you, so the far side of that oval is what's out in front of the nose. So that's the way your spacecraft is pointing, and this is the disk that those rings are superimposed in is stabilized to your spacecraft. So as you roll or turn, or roll or yaw or pitch, that disk doesn't actually move, because it's what it's representing is a plane going out the horizontally, front and back and left and right of your spacecraft. So if you yaw, then all of those symbols will rotate around in sequence with your spacecraft, or what you're commanding your spacecraft to do, so that from the center all the way to the far side there is always pointing out in front, what's immediately out in front of your nose. And then of course that means that what goes from the center back towards you, towards your pilot seat, is what's behind you, and then right and left as appropriate. Which means that you have an instantaneous look at clock positions. What's in front of you is always 12 o'clock, and what's behind you is always 6. Right is 3, and left is 9. Please don't confuse those two, because we hear it every once in a while, even in the fighter community. It's kind of funny when somebody goes, if somebody goes left 3 o'clock, people everybody understand that he probably meant left 9. But so remember, right is 3 is always right, and left is and right, and 9 is always left. But so you can see those clock positions go clockwise around. And those are a quick reference with less words for you to be able to get one of your friend's eyes looking in that general direction to hopefully see the target that you're talking about, which is why we use it like that. So 12 o'clock is always out in front of you, 6 is always back, 3 is on your right, 9 is on your left. All the rest are 30 degrees off from each other. Okay. So that disk I already mentioned earlier is relative horizontal plane of your spacecraft at all times. So as you rotate around, that thing rotates around in space, but it does not rotate in the display, because it's always, whichever way you orient your spacecraft is the same way you're orienting that horizontal plane coming out. It has range rings. They're in 300 meter increments, with the exception of the farthest out one, so that they go in 369 100 meters each. That farthest and faintest one that's just a little bit outside the 900 meter ring is the 1 kilometer. So if you are in on this, what they kind of consider the in-close combat radar display, then you're only actually looking out to 1 kilometer, which I don't know if they're going to change or tweak this in the future, because as we can see, we're already getting guns that, and missiles go much farther than that, and the bigger guns can reach well outside of 1 kilometer. The triangles are your sensor targets. They are color-coded by whether or not they are what your ship system has determined to be hostile to you or not. So we'll call the sort of whitish, bluish-ish, greenish-ish ones, we'll call those friendlies, even though that's not necessarily what that means. It just means not hostile to you, or at least not acting in a hostile manner. Red obviously is hostile. So the triangles point towards the disk. So the leader line will go out from your ship out to the range that they are, if their position is superimposed down onto the disk, whether they're above your spacecraft or below your spacecraft, oriented. And yes, there is up and down in space, just like there's left and right in space, because up and down and left and right is oriented to your human body. So up above your head is always up, even if one of us is inverted. My up and your up does not mean the same thing. Doesn't have to mean the same thing. So, so as you can see, some of these, the leader line will go out to their range, and then it'll bend at 90 degrees and go up or down to where the target is in a three-dimensional sphere. So you have to pay attention to where those 90-degree corners are, because that's actually the range that they're at. As you can see, that farthest one to the right, the one that has the yellow arrow pointed to, this says triangle point toward the disk. This one is above. You can see that if you didn't have that leader line and that 90-degree corner and then the leader line continuing straight up to it, you could easily mistake that as being out towards more 3 o'clock and 900 meters instead of 4 o'clock and 1 kilometer. So, and also a healthy amount up out of the that horizontal plane that's around that disk, that disk represents. So with a little practice and a little use, this is actually a very, very good way of showing three-dimensional data or three-dimensional information in as minimum amount of graphics as possible. Okay, last thing, so I'm actually going to start at the one hostile contact, and I'm going to go around clockwise around at each one of these things and kind of give you a description of what positional data that is showing us. So with that hostile contact, it's showing that it's out about 900 meters, basically straight ahead of us, and is slightly left. We'll call it 12 o'clock, close enough. And it's slightly below, because it's actually right at about that 900 ring is a corner that goes down a little bit. The next one to the right of it is a friendly contact. He's basically level because he's basically on the disk. So as far as that horizontal plane, he's basically level with my wing line, if you will. And he's right 1 o'clock, and he's about 600 meters out because he's on that 600 meter ring. The next guy's about 2 o'clock. Right 2 o'clock, he's about 900 meters out. He's also about level, and he's friendly. The fourth one that we were talking about is right 4 o'clock, so he's back behind my shoulder a bit. He's all the way out at about 1 kilometer, and he's well above my the horizontal plane of my spacecraft. So if I turn around to go look at him, I need to not only turn around and look the 4 o'clock direction back over my shoulder, I'm going to have to look up fairly significantly to find him. The second to the last guy is he's over at left 10 o'clock, about 300 meters, so that guy's pretty close, and he's fairly well below. So I'm going to look left about 60 degrees or 30 degrees in front of the wing line, and then I'm going to look down to try to see if I can pick up the contact or pick up the tally on that. And the last guy is over there near the hostile contact, a friendly contact. He's below my plane. He's all the way out at 1 kilometer, and he's at left 11. So that would be the way to kind of maintain orientation with the 3D holographic display. All right, so the tough one is and it's not really tough. It's just that it's not as intuitive as that, unless you obviously are a Wing Commander fan and played it back in the 90s. So it's this 2D planar array, which is in some of the older fighters. It's in Avengers. I don't think it's in the Gladius. I think it's in the Avengers. It's in a lot of the Drake ships, like the Buck or the Buck and the Cuddy. So what this means is it's basically, you have to think of this like this flat display is actually representing a sphere wrapped around you with your eyeballs at the center. So that circle up in front, the circle in the center is what's directly out in front of the spacecraft, and those pie wedges left, right, above, and below are exactly that. They are left, right, above, and below. The inner circle around the one that says front is, if the blip is on that line, that's about 30 degrees from your nose. So if a guy is perfectly directly out in front of your nose, he'd be right at the top of where the O in front is. I wonder if I can, oh, I got a laser pointer. That's right. I can just do that. Boop. So if the blip is right there, then that's directly in front of you. If the blip is right on that line to the left, it's 30 degrees left. He should still be on your screen. He should be out a little bit towards the left bezel. Or if you're using Track IR or the native head tracking in Star Citizen, just turn your head about 30 left and you should be good. This whole pie wedge over here is what's left, and the outer ring is 90 degrees. So if the blip is out there at about where the E and the F and the left is, that's about 45 degrees left. And then all the way out to that corner is 90 degrees. So these distances are not 1-to-1. Okay, because from this ring to the farthest outer ring is from 90 degrees left to 180 degrees on the outer ring, which is, no kidding, dead six. It's exactly opposite of this dot in the middle, which is directly in front of you. This entire outer ring represents directly behind you, which is why when a blip comes out here, without you barely even moving, it can go sliding around all the way around on this circle, as the computer kind of is guessing which way you're going to turn. Similarly, it works above and below. So like I said, if I got I'm basically pointing at, but he's 45 degrees up, then he would be sitting right there like that, with the his blip right at about where the O and above is. And similar, that would be directly up. So I'd have to look 90 degrees straight above the spacecraft as it's oriented. Or if I'm going to, try to put my nose on him, then I would have to pitch 90 degrees, and that would pull him down to right in front of me, and I should see him at that point. That distance from the 90 degree point out to 180 degree point obviously is all behind your 3-9 line. So if the blip is moving out here and gets out to 90 degrees, gets out about there, then that's probably 135 degrees. So something that's back behind you, in this case, sort of partially above, partially right, he's going to be back over your shoulder and up from you, versus this would be back over your shoulder and down, probably 45 degrees off of your tail. So that little distance right there will represent about 45 degrees. The other 45 degrees going to the 90. So, like I said, if you just have a contact sitting still in front of you and you just decide to rotate left, to yaw left, then it's going to come out to 30 degrees, it's going to go to 45, it's going to go out to 90, it's going to go around, start going behind you, it's going to get out to this outer edge, which is 180 degrees, and as you kick him across the tail at 180, it could slide this way around the edge, or it could slide this way around the edge. It doesn't matter. If you just kept a nice steady yaw going, it just, roll a dice in the computer which way it wants to go, and it'll slide around that until it gets over here, and then it'll start working your way as you continue yawing to the left, back past 90 degrees, 45 degrees left, back, and then all the way back around to in front of you. Okay, so a whole lot of words, which is probably easier if it just showed it, so we're going to just show it. How do I turn off my pointer? Options. Turn off the laser pointer. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to Alt-Tab over in. Hopefully we are all set up proper. Boop. All right, so I do have Track IR working at the moment. Hopefully, okay, so Daily is out there in front of me and a little bit low. So as you can see right there, and I'll try not to move my head too much, you'll see that his blip is directly in front of me, but it's about 45 degrees down. So that's right in front of me, 45 degrees down's about there. Boop. There's his pip, because we're in party with each other, so you can see him right there. And now if I just push to pitch down, you'll see as he comes up and I center it up in there, he's now centered in my out underneath my gun cross. Okay, so I'm going to rotate. I'm going to yaw to the right, and I'm going to put him right about there, which should be, he's 45 left of my nose. So if I turn my head up, there he is, 45 left. Stick his head, boink. Okay, so I'm going to put him right on the 90 degree line, like so. If I turn my head all the way over there, 90 degrees, there he is at. And come on back. Okay. And like I said, same thing works in pitch. So if I take him down, there's there's a 30-degree line. I just have to look up a little bit. There he's at. Okay. If I push him to 45 in pitch, I'm going to have to turn the head up a little bit. And if I go all the way to the 90-degree line, I'm going to have to really crank my nugget up. Oh, maybe I can't get to him with track IR. Oh, there it is. Yeah. I had to cheat a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to bring him back to center. And then I'm just going to go ahead and yaw in one direction. And watch what happens when he gets all the way to 180 degrees at my tail. So I'm just going to yaw right. There's 90. Now, you see how it slowed down? I didn't change how fast I'm rotating. And now when I get there, it looks like two of them. And you see how it whipped around the edge. And now he's back 90 degrees right. There he is. 45 right. 30 right. And back to nose on. So the 2D planar array is actually not that hard. It's pretty easily understandable. The neater thing about this, unlike the 3D holographic, is those rings are not range dependent. As long as my sensors can see him, even sensor lock on him, then as long as he's within the range of the sensors to see him, then he shows up as a blip here, whereas the 3D holographic one only looks out to 1 kilometer, so if he's more than a kilometer out, he's no longer displayed on that. I know in a dogfight you're going to be looking around outside like you should be, but you wouldn't believe how quick a glance down into the radar can give you some situational awareness as far as where the bad guy is. Now, last thing I'm going to talk about is in this upper right corner. Let me see, do I have a cursor? Oh, yeah, I'll do it like this. Okay, so, what can I do? Nope. How do I get there? How do I show it? Do that. All right, so up here in the upper right is the holographic display for whoever you have your system targeted to. So I have daily targeted right now. You're pointing directly at me, right, D?
Correct.
Okay. So as you can see, like his little hologram drawing of the ship is pointed right at me as well. It's a little bit occluded by the shield hologram projection around that display, which makes it sometimes a little bit harder to see. However, can you just give me a little bit of yaw, like yaw 90 in a direction? Oop. So you'll see his ship hologram yawed around. Now he's tail. And go ahead and yaw back around a point. Okay. Go ahead and pitch 90 up. Whoop. So now you're looking at the bottom of his hornet. And the third thing is if you have him targeted on the actual reticle right there, you can see a little nose cone hologram around the targeting reticle that will also try to give you an aspect cue as far as where his nose is pointing. So all of those together are all the sensor displays. Oops. And let me zoom back out here. And that's it in a nutshell. Thank you very much, Daly, for helping. I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Any questions before we go in and stage a purge and break? I'll tap dance for a few seconds here while in case people are listening to the stream side.
Hey, Foghorn, are you there? Can you hear us?
I can.
Okay. I mean, this is incredible information. It's coming like a fire hose, and I'm just saying, is there any way that this could get recorded and put on YouTube? So
it is.
Oh, it is. Okay, awesome. So we could watch this over and over again and
Absolutely.
At our own pace. Okay, awesome.
Yep. We use. We're not community building outside of our own org. So,
okay.
We use YouTube as a archive
okay,
repository
awesome.
for these academics. So
okay.
You can find links to it all throughout our Discord channels. It'll be in Gilded as well. They are uploaded to our bespoke website, and
okay.
If you're one of those strange people who actually use Spectrum for the forums, then if
No.
on our Aurora Republic section of the Spectrum forums, we have them linked there as well. So there's plenty of ways to get to these, to watch them over and over again, because repetition is important.
Yeah, and my next question is, okay, so you see the blip that you were talking about. You know, when I was tracking, I was hearing everything you were saying, everything made sense. And then as it went out to the far, like, right, or what you'd call 3 o'clock or whatever, you said how it split to 2, and then after you said that it did split to 2. Why does that split to 2 like that?
It shouldn't. That's a glitch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
My point is that it might the blip should just slide around the circumference of that outer circle. This is assuming that you're just going to keep the same rotation that you had going. You know, so if you're yawing and you just keep, you know, you're just going to yaw in a big merry-go-round circle. That was what I was trying to demonstrate, was that when it hits that outer circle, it'll just slide. It might the computer might decide to display that as sliding around the upper hemisphere of it or the lower hemisphere of it, but it basically slides around that until it gets to the other side, and it can do it really fast, and then it'll come off of that again as you continue yawing in that direction and come and trace its way back to center. The reason why this one split is a glitch, because he was all by his lonesome out there. Unless, well, we weren't very far off of Everest Harbor. We were going to go way out into deep space so that we'd have as clean a display as possible, but we ran out of time as we were trying to set this up, and I had to get the stream started. So we basically were able to just make it, you know, just a little bit, you know, whatever, 10, 15 clicks outside of Everest Harbor. So we may have been close enough that second blip may have been like one of the turrets or something. You may have just been right on the ragged edge of sensor range, being able to see it. But I suspect it was probably just a glitch.
Okay, awesome. So one more question. So you're saying basically the donut ring. So that, like, donut ring on the outside, when you get into that, you're saying that they're actually behind you?
Yes, this donut ring on the outside, farthest ring, all points around that ring are all dead 6 o'clock. They are.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Awesome.
So it takes a little. It takes a little bit of. It twists your brain a little bit at first until you kind of fly with it and go, okay.
Okay.
So when you see a blip out on that outer ring, anywhere on that outer ring, just because it's down here, like maybe kind of down below and right on that outer ring, that's actually dead 6. That does not mean it's actually... That's the only spot on the planar array that it does not mean it's in that direction. Everywhere else, if it comes 1 pixel inside of that, then that is direct. That directional data is true. But that outer line represents actually 1 point in space directly behind you. And so the computer can kind of just... by the computer, I mean the Star Citizen, the game, can just decide where to put it on that ring anywhere. You know, if you were sitting still and I was able to drive perfectly straight up your 6 o'clock until I just got to the edge of your sensor range, you have no idea where on that circle that the computer would plot the very first blip when I got within range of you. Okay. So got it. The second I move a little bit, 1 degree left, right, up, or down, then it will correct itself, and you'll see it go and slip around to where you're at, to where I'm at, and put me positionally correct on that display. But that's the one caveat about this, is that outermost ring is all actually a single line, dead 6, going out the tail of the airplane.
Awesome. Thank you. Really appreciate all this.
Anytime, man.
If you wanted to show off the 3D quick, we could just switch ships. I just want to throw it out there.
Yeah, we could do that.
Foghorn, so my computer crashed. My graphics card felt like it was going to melt, so I just got a blue screen and I had to shut down and let it cool. When I came back in, it was about 45 or 47 after 9. So I missed about the first 12 minutes.
It'll
Any
be on
ideas?
YouTube.
It'll be on YouTube? Okay. How much did I miss?
See, what time is it now? That we were a little late, so you probably missed 10 minutes.
Okay.
Waha! I guess we're gonna play Chinese fire drill.
Mm-hmm. And you're off.
Cool. That was a great idea, my man. All right, so I'm in the ship. I need to power on engines. Okay, cool. So, oh great, canopy bug. Okay, so as you can see, he's about 450-ish meters directly behind me and about level. So if I yaw to the right, you'll see that sensor target on the holographic display. Let me zoom in on it, Duke. Here we go. So now he's about 450, maybe 500 at 90 degrees. Yep, there he is. Oh. It's got you 2.73 meters, 2.7 kilometers. So that means that you must have adjusted the scale on this. Or, interesting. Okay.
It should be default. I don't even know how to adjust the scale.
Like so. It's interesting. Okay, radar scale. Well, all right, that's interesting. You're a lot farther away than last time we did this. It's a good thing we did this because it's just corrected myself. So it looks like those are range rings now. It looks
So
like
they're
4. That looks like 2 kilometers, 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers. Right?
So it's not the 300, 600,
No,
900 meters?
that's what it used to.
Interesting.
That's something new.
Is there a way to set the range, like almost a scale?
Yeah, there is.
Or
as you
there
guys
is?
can see,
Okay.
if you're watching in the Twitch chat or in the
Mhm.
Twitch stream,
Mhm.
if you hold F, look at the radar. There is a range.
Oh, you're right on the bottom. That I saw
Yeah,
you adjust.
so you can
Okay,
actually go all the way out to where you're looking at like the whole solar system. So there's the Stanton solar system. And then you can
So what-
zoom into.
What does it need to be at to have that 300, 600, 900 scale? Is that 1?
That's looking to me like that doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, wow.
Because you also have some presets. So the radar scale is the close-in dogfight one, and that
Okay.
looks like. Let me see here. Let me get to put. I'm gonna side strafe until I put daily right on that line.
Is this going to look completely different on different spacecraft?
Shouldn't.
Okay.
Previous testing, it was this. It was a sort of a universal standard.
Okay.
All right, so I got you at what, 1.6? All right, so it looks like those lines, it looks like the rings are 1.5, 3, 4.5, and 5 kilometers. Interesting. Okay, so if I pitch down, you'll notice that you see how it shows him. He hasn't moved. All I did was pitch. But it shows now that he has a downward triangle showing that he's above the horizontal plane of my spacecraft, aka like the wing line. And but all I have to do is pitch. There it goes past him and put my nose above him. This is all relative, me to him and him to me. And now it shows that it's an upward triangle showing that he's below that disk. So that disk is a reference to your own spacecraft. Well, that's interesting. That's they changed those range scales, and I have seen no documentation anywhere about that in any patch notes or anything like that.
So how can we get those rings to mean something? Like, whatever, like 300 meters, 600, 900. That made sense.
Do.
Or
they do. It's the inner one is 1,500 meters. 3,
and then it's like
3,000,
3, and then 4,500 now.
45, and then that faintest outermost one is 5.
Okay.
The reason why that is significant is with most of these small fighters, in our the IP training I've been putting some of these guys through so far, we have discovered that it's like 5 kilometers, about all the farther you're going to get sensor contacts and be able to hold a
Okay.
sensor lock on each other without using scanners, without just you're just driving around, and the first hit you get on the guy is about 5 kilometers, and if you take a lock and drive outside of 5 kilometers, then it drops the lock.
Okay, one question.
All
So
things being equal.
when you set that thing, is that at like max on the scale? Does it have anything to do with the scale? Do you have to set the scale at max to get
when you
5
start up, it
1,000
starts
meter range?
It appears that when you start up the 5 kilometer range, outer ring is the standard that it starts
Standard
at. It should be right
okay,
there.
that's the default. Okay.
That's also what you get when you hit radar scale. If you go to nav map scale, it goes out to the max, as you can see that pip moved right there.
Okay. Yep.
Then you can also move it to go to my location, which doesn't do anything because Daly and I are already sitting on each other. And then you can also go in here to set a destination if you wanted to.
Okay. Okay. So radar scale.
Radar scale is what it defaults to right there.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just popped back in on that scale when I got within around 5,000.
Okay. Awesome.
I have a remark to make.
Sure.
According to the in the latest patch, you can actually spot people more than 5 clicks away. There's actually an entire equation of how far you can spot someone away. Takes 2 things into consideration. It takes the highest signature between electromagnetic and infrared in value. So whichever one of those 2 is your higher one, that's the one that's going to be inserted in the equation. And it multiplies it by a factor that depends on the size of your radar. I think size 1 radars have a 0.45 multiplier. Size 2 radars have a 0.5, and size 3 radars have a 0.75.
Yeah, so... Boop. So he didn't
So,
show
for
up
example,
until
what's
5400.
your... Yeah, and his highest EMs or IR is what?
54 is where the Hornet sensors is picking up the Titan, and we're just sitting here not doing anything other than a little thrusting. Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so we need to kick our science and research divisions in the butt, get them out here doing tests.
Yeah, it's really good information. Really appreciate all this.
All right. I'm gonna alt tab over here and wrap this up if there's no other questions. Pointer options, laser pointer, pum pum. All right. I'm gonna assume there's no other questions. So that wraps up this installment of Academics with Foghorn. Hope you found it interesting and helpful. If you have any questions I didn't answer, please feel free to contact me via email, Discord, Spectrum, or of course the comment section below, and I will answer it to the best of my ability and basically as soon as I see it. Remember, members or visitors alike, please hit those follows and subscribe buttons as appropriate. Leave us a comment, as the feedback really does help us, and we're always striving to improve our content for you guys. You can find out more information at our bespoke website at aurorarepublic.space or on Spectrum at robertspaceindustries.com/org/aurora-rep. I'll see you next time. Foghorn signing off, wishing you a very pleasant remainder of your morning, afternoon, and or evening, and thank you very much for watching.